Good evening and welcome back to another Fantasy Football Fix daily price change predictions video. My name is FPL Nacho and this is the series where we discuss potential FPL price changes to help you build that essential team value. Now, of course, the international break is coming to an end, which means FPL price changes are becoming even more important ahead of that game week 8 deadline. And we're going to be discussing all of those in this video. And in particular, we're going to be covering a potential FPL price rise for a Man City midfielder. I know they are the hot topic of the week. And we're also going to be discussing the potential price change of a Leeds midfielder who is currently at risk of not playing in game week 8. So we're covering whether he's worth bringing in to those teams. And a quick reminder, guys, that of course, fantasyfootballfix.com is the leading FPL platform to help you improve the rank and win those essential mini leagues. So be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com and of course check out the price predictor where we are taking, of course, all of that data for today's video. So without further ado, let's take a look at tonight's potential FPL price changes. Now, the first player we need to discuss is Man City's Phil Foden, who is predicted to rise in price tonight. Now, it's worth mentioning that, of course, wildcards are really active over this time period, being the international break ahead of game week 8. And wildcard transfers do not contribute towards FPL price changes. So although we have him to potentially rise in price tonight, it's worth mentioning that if he doesn't, this is because of the wildcard transfers skewing the progress bar for Phil Foden. And this is the case for all players that are popular wildcard transfers. So it's just worth noting that. And of course, head over to fantasyfootballfix.com to monitor the price predictor closely after this video and obviously for foreseeable game weeks. But Phil Foden has been probably the hot topic of the last few weeks really in FPL since his return from injury. And one headache has been resolved, and that is Ferran Torres, who has been confirmed injured for game week 8. Now, a common combination right now has been the comparison between Foden, Grealish and Torres, and really trying to identify who is going to get the most game time over the coming game weeks, because with the fixtures that they have coming up, Burnley, Brighton and Crystal Palace, there is real potential if you get the right Man City midfielder for serious returns. And of course, with the ownership of these assets, especially Phil Foden sitting around 2 or 3%, if you can get game time over the next 3 game weeks, there could be brilliant differential moves, especially if your overall rank to be climbing over the coming game weeks. And the difficulty with Phil Foden right now, I've pulled up the player heat map and section for Phil Foden. Now, it's worth noting that he's only played 190 minutes so far this season for Man City. So the data is very small and very hard to compare in the long term for him. And of course, with his minutes and potential rotation in the side, his projected points, I don't think reflect what he could actually return as an FPL asset. So looking at his touch map here, we can see that he has been operating off the left in the areas that you would expect Grealish to be in. But the interesting thing here is the touches in the box. You can see the heat map on the left-hand side there. Real promising position for a 7.9 million asset, of course, playing in one of the best attacking sides in the league. And when we just come to scroll down here, of course, in the player heat map section, we can see that in the 190 minutes that he has played in, he's had 3 shots, 5 attempted assists. So although they're not necessarily massive shot volumes, they're decent stats for a Man City midfielder. And with the upcoming fixtures, of course, you have to remember that one of these games was Liverpool, not an easy fixture at all. And he obviously was one of the best players on the pitch there. And when we come down a little bit further, we can see some of the underlying stats for Phil Foden. And here we can see an expected goals of 0.59. So again, not groundbreaking underlying stats. However, over the game time that he's had and the opposition that he has played, I still think that these are decent underlying stats with 3 shots in the box. Again, showing that he's picking up really good areas in this Man City team. Now, as a conclusion for Phil Foden, again, none of us can predict who is going to get the most game time in this Man City team. But I do think that with Phil Foden missing the opening 5 or 6 game weeks, he does still need to get game time. And I know he's featured heavily over the international break for England. But with Torres being injured, I think Foden is definitely going to be getting a couple of games over the next 3 game weeks. And I know we are putting our head on the line here with saying that Foden is the best pick. But I think at his ownership and his price point, if you have a wild card right now, I really do think that Foden is probably the go-to Man City midfielder. Now, of course, risk is involved in this pick, but if you like that kind of risk move, I really do think that Phil Foden is a brilliant asset to bring in, potentially ahead of a FPL price rise. Now, another player we need to discuss is Leeds' Rafinha. Now, this was a player that was predicted to potentially rise over the coming days. However, news has surfaced that he might be potentially missing game week 8 due to international commitments with Brazil. We're unsure whether he is going to make it back in time, but of course, it isn't a quick commute over from Brazil. So that is going to be very, very tight to understand whether he is going to play in game week 8. And naturally, this has made managers worried. And slowly but surely he is getting sold off over the last couple of hours. Now, it's worth mentioning that we are looking right now at the Fantasy Football Fix points projection. And it is worth noting that over the next 6 game weeks, Rafinha is predicted to score 19.4 points, which is second best to Saar at 20.2. Now, why have I got this up here right now? Well, it's worth noting that looking at the short-term Rafinha, of course, if he misses game week 8, it is not good news for managers. However, putting on a bit of a longer term head with Rafinha, we can see that projected points at 4 in game week 9, 4.5 in game week 10, and so on, really shows that although he might miss game week 8, he is still one of the top assets over this price bracket over the coming game weeks. Now, the chart that you see behind us is for midfielders below 7 million, and of course he is second best. Now, Saar being top with 20.2 predicted points. I think it's worth mentioning with the new manager at Watford, the unpredictability there. We're unsure whether this is going to make Saar a better or worse asset, whereas Rafinha, we know what he does in that Leeds side and we know what he is capable of. So I think it's worth noting that although managers right now might hold him and are worried about the long term, I really do think that he's definitely a hold. And if you are currently building a wildcard team, I do think that if you can suffer game week 8, him being on the bench potentially and having a squad that can rotate in this week, I really do think longer term, he is going to be a brilliant asset for those sides. So looking at the projected points and what he has done so far this season, I think Rafinha is a brilliant player to bring in or hold over the coming game weeks. Right guys, that is going to wrap up today's FPL price change predictions video. Really hope that you enjoyed the new setup of this video. Of course, with the animations and the new template, we cannot wait to be bringing this kind of setup over the coming weeks and months. Really hope you guys have enjoyed it. And of course, if you have any questions, be sure to drop them in the comments and we will be answering them throughout the next 24 hours, of course, ahead of our next FPL price change video, which will be dropping the exact same time tomorrow, so you don't want to be missing that one. And of course, guys, be sure to head over to fantasyfootballfix.com. With it being the leading FPL site, it is going to seriously help you when you want to look to improve your FPL rank or win those essential mini leagues. And of course, a quick reminder that the FPL price changes aren't an exact science and they can alter. So head over to our price predictor to monitor these closely. So I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, and if you have, be sure to support the channel, hit that like button and subscribe. And with the videos dropping daily, you don't want to be missing a thing, so hit that notification bell so you get alerted when these videos are dropping. So we'll see you guys same time tomorrow. Cheers.